word to say here. I think that all of us ought to join in a happy birthday. There is a period in which you can tell a lady's age when it's Irene Marcos and it's her 22nd birthday. Happy birthday. But tonight, we welcome old and friends to the White House in a visit symbolic of the superb relationship between our two countries. It's a nostalgic occasion for us as well. Nancy and I often think of our 1969 visit to Manila when we first experienced that unexcelled Philippine hospitality as the guests of our guest tonight. And the birthday girl was quite young and small at that time. Many things have changed in both countries since that time, but one thing remains: the basic of the Filipino United States friendship remains solid. Both countries have worked hard over the years to maintain cooperation in defense, foreign policy, refugee, economic assistance, and many other areas. And I pledge to you, President Marcos, the United States will do its share to strengthen those ties in the 1930s. In the 1980s, I've been doing a little reminiscing at the table, forgive me. Yes, 1930s was my job. We value the friendship of the Republic of the Philippines for many reasons, Mr. President. Twined histories during the years of this century left its imprint on your institutions of government, your educational system, and public services, such as public health, the wide of the English language as a result of that. So is your flourishing free enterprise. As important as are our shared strategic interests, which span this entire century. In World War II, Filipinos and Americans fought and died together. You yourself, Mr. President, played an unforgettably heroic part in that conflict. Coming out of that war, your generation and mine fully understood the need for collective security arrangements. Unfortunately, some of today's young people, blessed by decades of relative peace, may not have this understanding. I think it's our duty to impart our historical experience to them. Today, a strong defense alliance is a major factor in contributing to the security of the Philippines and to the maintenance of peace and security in Asia. With the next review of the military bases agreement, which begins in 1983, we shall continue to modernize our security relationship to best serve our mutual security interests. Both of our economies depend on vigorous trade and investment. These ties remain strong, and your presence in Washington, Mr. President, has enabled us to conclude several outstanding economic matters. President Marcos, we have accomplished a great deal together over the years. We will all do more in the years to come. Common determination to achieve a better life doesn't mean that we need to be alike. We need only to treat one another in a spirit of generosity and mutual respect. If we do that, our continuing commitment to one another, resting as it does on many years of close relations, will be solid now and for the future. So in that spirit, let me offer a toast to the President, Mrs. Marcos, and to the people of the Philippines, and to the mutual respect, the dedication to peace and security in the world, and the shared values which unite us.
Mr. President and Mrs. Reagan, distinguished guests, my friends. I feel I must pay tribute to this elegant and fairy-like party and dinner, which has reminded me too much not only of home, but of some dreamland at home. A tribute to the taste and sense of beauty, to perhaps primarily not only to President Reagan, but Mrs. Reagan for this lovely party, which I shall always remember as the Firefly Party in the White House. You do us great honor. This dinner. Allow me to extend the gratitude to million people, the public officials, Mrs. Marcos and myself, for this hospitality and this generosity. Certainly, we'll be unable to reciprocate the beautiful event. We even had a song prepared, Philippine song. That's a favorite first lady of the Philippines. Dahil sa iyo, which means because of you, I love, because of you I live, and because of you I am what I am. And then you had the other, which was a favorite of both Reagan and the other president. Understand the theme song of Dr. Zivago, which is a long story, of course, which I won't talk about. Happens to be one of our thinking, one of what threatened to be, but which did not, and that's why we remember. Tonight, the Philippines once again is obligated to you, Mr. President, for your kind and generous words. And periods of difficulty, and perhaps therefore it is not to us that it is the appellation between American and the Filipino. That friendship, cherish and cherish. Again, soil, Mr. President. I cannot but be
It's smoky, it's juicy.
It's just so nicely grilled. Beef na beef talaga siya.
No way, man.
It tastes just like the Whopper.
Burger King plant-based Whopper. 100% Whopper, 0% beef. Junior size, 89 lang.
Tonsillitis po ito kayo na to. May tonsil dito. Ingat sa taas, ingat dito. Sa kabila ng mga natural minerals, bawal nating hawakan.
Ganda nga yun.
Basta may makita yung mga crystallize, ibig sabihin, buhay pa rin sila. Bawal silang hawakan.
Ibig sabihin may tubig pa rin ang umaano.
Yes, opo. Pero during rainy season lang. Doon na sila talaga nabubuhay. Pag panahon ng tagal kasi dry cave ito. Kaya sobrang tagal ng nagiging po.
Malamig dito. Hello?
Okay, stop muna dito. Dito namin sila. Okay, makinig po. Sa lugar na to may daan. Ito lang yung tinatawag naming hard na kinakailangan gumapang. Ito lang po yung binansagan sa Kalinawan Cave ng military training. So gapang po ito, dapat ang siko, dapat ang tuhod, dapat ang buong katawan as in gapang talaga. Pero wag po kayong mag-alala. Sa kabila po may daan din. Ito naman yung tinatawag naming easy way. Pero yung hard po, yung hard tsaka easy, same way out lang po yan. Kaya lang po sa ngayon, yung hard, negative din tayo. Kasi may tubig yung loob niya ngayon, kaya easy way lang talaga tayo. Summer lang po tayo, dry lahat na. So ngayon, easy way tayo. Pinakabang lang rin ako. Dito po tayo.
Ito yung naman ko yung tour guide. Nangero.
Asan ito kaya?
Yes po. Nasa 15 years na yan.
Nagtutur na din siya, no?
Tuta pa lang kasi nakapakatagal na yan.
Alam na na eh.
Ay, talagang ikaw ang sinusunod. Opo. Hindi, kahit mag-isa lang siya. Naglalabas na dito. Kahit wala yung ikaw. Asan yung parang nagtulong na rin.
Nakakita rin, di ba mga aso sa likod?
May lahi na po kasi panig iyak. Ayan. Ang ganun din ito.
Na-video mo? Na-video mo?
Ingat sa taas. Ulan. Ingat po tayo sa taas. Ingat.
Man. Okay. Ano, pag ang pintin, abot ang ceiling. Ay, di ka abot ang ceiling ni mo, man.
Ay ko naman, uy. Yung sasabi sa'yo eh. Aditas ka pa.
Oo,
Mapahit.
sige na mo na yan. Ate Gonzin!
May umutot.
May pasabog. Sa left side, may small column pero patay mo kasi nakabakan siya ng tao. So, ganyan na hitsura lang.
Doktor. Cute, no? Ito may mineral. Ay, may cash. Ito. May paniki dito. Wala.
Meron ka lang lang kung yung mga fruit
Kasi mapanghi eh.
May ngayon po, dadaan tayo ngayon sa tinatawag naming Rayuma area.
Rayuma.
Yan, Rayuma area. Kasi medyo na kayo kulang tayo ng konti sa Rayuma area.
No! Bitin!
Rayuma area. Tara dito para sa pagkuha. Okay, di mo i-video ko. Yung kanina yung mali.
Okay, paglabas niyo po ng Rayuma area, sa right side, ito yung way out ng daan sa hard. Gumapang tayo, dito tayo lalabas sa lugar na yan. Pero, papasok kayo dyan mga rain at hari. lalabas kayo ng mga pa. Yan po yung pinakamahirap na dito sa buong layers ng kalinawan, yung second layer na heart. Talagang mahirap po.
Assalamualaikum, ladies and gentlemen. I will do another reaction of Roma Irama. Fit Rita Sugiarto Tulus Hati Luhur Budi. Sorry for pronouncing the title. Before we are going to start, I don't know that second artist, I mean that woman. Somebody tell me how many instruments do Roma plays. I know he plays right now piano and already guitar. What else? Drum?
Bukan karena tampan wajah ku menyintamu, bukan karena harta.
I really love her voice. Wow. She has a very beautiful, deep voice.
Benda ku menyayangimu, bukan pula karena
Also, the title, we can see on the title, it got already over 1 million views, but it has right now already 1.7 million views. So in a couple of months, this video will get 2 million views.
bukan karena cantik rupa.
Wait, guys, I'm gonna look for translation. You know, guys, I can't understand it Indonesian. English, okay. No, not because I'm a beautiful. I love you.
Ku menyintaimu, bukan karena harta benda. Ku menyayangimu,
Many
benar terpaksa. Cinta suci dan sejati menyentuh kalbu.
two amazing artists. Roma Irama feat Rita Sugiarto. Anybody wants that I'm doing a reaction of Rita Sugiarto? Let me know in the comments. If yes, I'm gonna do it for you. Let me know, guys.
Hati luhur budi yang meluluhkanku.
You know, in Germany, we don't have these kind of palms because of the temperature. I love these palm trees. Really, I love them.
here waiting. And I don't think it poses a problem. It requires public works people who are here waiting find out have we settled the problem of expenditure. My position is he's a head of state.
Mike Silver, position all over doing a survey of the various places.
Is that so?
Yeah, he will be one of the producers. Correct.
He's at Maxine to get together.
Uh,
Yeah.
Of the basic tenets of the third world neutralism,
exactly.
intervention in the internal affairs of other countries, things like that.
And now that they've got Russia behind their back, it makes it very difficult. Mr. President, I realize you're very busy, and thank you very much for taking the time to see us.
They told me that you would have very limited period here, so much. We really are actually busy working on the finishing touches on which particular decrees, orders, and instructions have to be modified or are considered rescinded by the termination of martial law.
And then you've got the Pope coming in.
Well, I have left that to the usual committee, and Cardinal Sin is well on top of it. So is the Papal Nuncio. I don't think it poses a problem, except that it requires some of the public works people who are here waiting to find out first, have we settled the problem of expenditures, things like that. My position is he's a head of state. He should be treated as such.
Yeah, they're probably worried about the bookkeeping. Well, Mike Silver, our producer, has been all over doing a survey of the various places that the Pope will visit. So,
Is that so?
Yeah, he will be one of the producers on the trip for us.
He and Bishop Maxinko should get together.
Ah.
Yeah.
So, Mr. President, I thought
I'm ready.
we'd talk a little bit about martial law, a little bit about the upcoming papal visit. As usual, some tough questions, which you never ducked on me.
That's to be expected, to make it interesting,
Right, okay.
without sounding vitriolic and adversary.
No, we've had some pretty good luck in the past. Like that. Lim, anytime you're ready.
I'm ready.
Mr. President, you've just lifted martial law. It was in force for some time, over 8 years. Why now? Why this particular time?
First of all, let me immediately set the background of the preparations for the termination of martial law. The preparations were made as early as 1976, after the first lady obtaining a ceasefire and the termination of hostilities in the south through the Tripoli Agreement when she visited Colonel Gaddafi in Libya. You remember that the Tripoli Agreement was signed in December 23, 1976. The ceasefire was signed too then on January 7, 1977. Another formal ceasefire was signed here within Philippine jurisdiction between the representative of National Liberation Front and the South Commander, Admiral Espaldon. A enforcement group was set up to enforce the provisions of that ceasefire and the Tripoli Agreement. It was agreed the plebiscite would be called. It was objected to initially, but later on the Libyan government through Colonel Gaddafi agreed to it. They suggested some questions. The Secretary General, Karim Gay of the Islamic Conference, agreed to the same questions, and the leader of the Moro National Liberation Front, Nur Miswari, also sent a letter confirming the fact that they supported the questions to be asked, among which were the form of government, how many autonomous governments were going to be set up, and whether they were agreeable for the Moro National Liberation Front to take over that government. The people voted and almost unanimously supported the idea that instead of one, there be two autonomous governments, because historically the Muslims in the south are divided into several tribal units, groups, and more or less two unit autonomous government would just about answer their requirements. So regions 9 and 12 were organized, 5 provinces each. And in accordance with the result of the plebiscite, an election was called, and the members of the Legislative Council were elected, so they recommended an executive committee, which I appointed. I offered the chairmanship to Mr. Nur Miswari. He refused it. We therefore gave the memberships to other rebel commanders. When this happened, I was ready to lift martial law, because by this time, the leftist, rightist communist rebellion had been practically neutralized, except for small pockets in, say, Samar, Kalinga, Payao. And Then came the calamity, the tsunami, the earthquake under the sea south of Mindanao, which resulted in a tsunami or a tidal wave that killed about 8,000 of our people. Because of this, we attended to the calamity first, and all of us here in Luzon, including the Christian governors, went in there in August of 1977. We invited the Quadripartite Commission of the Islamic Conference. This is this 42 Arab nation and Muslim nation organization, which meets almost annually. And the Quadripartite Commission, composed of Somalia, Senegal, Libya, and Saudi Arabia, came. And they saw that there was no such thing as genocide, and therefore I was all the more ready to proclaim the termination of martial law. Then came the horrendous and brutal killing of the 1st Infantry Division Commander, General Bautista. He was invited to a peace conference by Usman Saleh, one of the rebel leaders. And while he was getting out of his jeep with his staff officers, they were all massacred, 32 of them. This resulted in such a reaction among the people that it was impossible to lift martial law. This was 1977. In 1978, I instead asked that the agreement, the Tripoli agreement, be now worked out in detail. The two delegations met in Tripoli. They failed after a continuous meeting of about a month or two. And so we had to send the First Lady all over again to Libya to talk to Colonel Gaddafi, who talked to me over the telephone. And we agreed on certain undertakings, one of which was the proclamation of an area to be called an autonomous area, and the organization of the autonomous governments. With this came also the call to an election which was authorized by the October 27, 1976 amendments of the Constitution, which called for the election of an interim National Assembly for the entire country. And remember, that was 76. And this was 78, and we hadn't elected the members. And I was in a hurry. What we had was an advisory legislative council, and I was not content with that. I wanted elected members to constitute a legislature. Some people think that I terminated the Congress of the Philippines by executive fire. That's not true. They were terminated by the approval of the Constitution of the Philippines, or ratification, before their sessions in January of 1973. Some people also claim, I was reading one of the columnists of the Bulletin today, Mr. Apolonio Batalla, who claims that it is possible, it cannot be discounted, that I extended my term by proclaiming martial law. There was no need to proclaim martial law in order to extend my continuance in power, because I was the party leader of the overwhelmingly majority party. And the convention had elected a parliamentary form of government. Presumably, therefore, I could have continued as leader of the government without any further action. No need to proclaim martial law. This is one of the matters that non-lawyers or non-political scientists, those who do not understand the finer points of constitutional law, do not seem to grasp. And that is that the parliamentary system allows the continuance of a leader in power without the exercise of emergency powers or anything like that, so long as he holds the majority of the members in the National Assembly. And that's what happened. I was preparing for that, and so many things intervened. Then the crisis in '79 intervened. And you remember on my birthday, I said I had planned to proclaim martial law. But because of the increase in OPEC prices, we will now watch. If in 18 months the economic crisis does not worsen, it is my intention to consider the lifting of martial law. This was said in September of 1979. So 1980 came, and I kept telling everybody, we will now consider lifting martial law. This was during my birthday of 1980. If the things don't change by the end of the year or even or immediately thereafter, we will now consider the lifting of martial law. And why now? Because there is no ideal time for the lifting of martial law. We had been prevented, or the attempt to terminate martial law had been aborted many times. 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. Now that's about enough. I have had enough of these circumstances preventing the lifting of martial law. And so, considering the relative peace and order and the relative successes of all the programs, including the economic one, plus the fact that we have Minister Yamani who visited with us saying that no, the OPEC situation will not get worse, the prices will not go up, there may be an oversupply even of oil. And he didn't believe. He told me frankly, I don't believe that you will be in danger, or any of the countries will be in danger of suffering any economic reverses because of OPEC. With that, I directed the planners in government to prepare for the termination of martial law.
Mr. President, we've been reading in some of the press about some of the problems recently. For example, the bombing at the travel convention, some activity on the campuses with the students, the statements by the opposition, and so on. Still some problems in the South, and it just seems to someone who has seen martial law before and after the fact, that this particular timing was no better or worse than a lot of the other times. And some critics of yours have said that you lifted it really because of the new administration in Washington coming in and also the visit of the Pope, that the timing had more to do with that.
The problem with people who speculate about the conduct of government is that they think less of national interest than of their own peculiar prejudices. The trouble with studies and assessments of this nature is that you really can't read exactly what are the imponderables that work on the leader in making a decision. First of all, you must remember that as of 1976, I had decided there was no anarchy in the land. Now, under the Constitution, anarchy is the legal basis for the proclamation of martial law. Secondly, I had maintained that the Commander-in-Chief provision should be utilized to restructure the society and radically. We had restructured our society from 1972 to 1976. We had converted a rice
you know you can create an endless water supply using only the air? Well, you can, and it's easier than you might think. The button in the companion banner below. When you use Chris' treatment system, the cleanest, fresh, purest water you ever taste additives anywhere, even in the driest climates. And it's completely off the grid, so you'll never have to worry about it. Stock low quality bottled water and keep your money where it belongs, in your pocket. Below, start enjoying your own fresh, clean water supply today.